Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Worldwide TV Network, WomenOnTV.tv, and iTube 247 out of Tennessee. And I've been wanting to do a show like this with this guy for the longest time. He's the one and only Don Most. Congratulations, Don. It's good to see you. And you have no idea. I just talked to John, my friend John Scheinfeld, about 2 weeks ago about the happy days of Garry Marshall. You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know. Yeah, that show on Garry Marshall, the special, the documentary, whatever you want to call it, it was wonderful to see that and be part of it as well.
Sorry about that. You know, what's funny thing about that is I had just got done doing Sergio Mendes because John did a documentary before that. And then I go, so what do you have coming up after that? He goes, I've got Herb Albert. But for ABC, I've got the happy days of Garry Marshall. I go, really? That's interesting. He goes, yes, the first doc that ABC has done in the years. I go, that'll be pretty good. So
yeah,
getting you, and then it did 5.6 million views in that one showing, and I thought this is pretty good. So now it's on Hulu for everybody to see. So before we get into, I got to ask you this: what was your memory of Garry Marshall? And I loved your interview on that John did with you.
Oh, my memory of Garry. I mean, there's so many that, sort of meld together, but, he was a comic genius. I mean, incredible, a mentor to all of us. The privilege of working with him and learning from him was immeasurable, and a wonderful man as well. And, so he loved the fact that we're a family, and that was important to him. And he really instilled that and fostered that with us. And so I've so many great feelings and sadness that he's no longer with us, of course.
He was always one of the best interviews that we were always done. He would always make us laugh and smile. And I said, wow, that's interesting. And then I just never forgot that. And I'm like honored to know that John did that. I'm honored to be on with you. So here's most people don't know that you're a singer, and most people don't know that you've been on Star Trek, and then most people don't know that you've been on Family Guy. All creators that I've interviewed throughout the years. Talk about all that.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, let's see. Star Trek. Yeah, I did a two-parter some years ago. It was probably a good 15 years ago, I'm guessing. But I played the villain, which was a lot of fun. It was a two-parter. I think the name of the episode was two-part. It was called Workforce. I played a doctor. So that was a really cool experience. I mean, I've been, after Happy Days, of course, it was a little more than a little. It was difficult getting away from the character in terms of the association, the typecasting that went along with that, especially back in those days when there were only 3 networks. So, you'd have, today, if you have 5-6 million people watching a show, it's pretty successful because there are, so many platforms and such competition amongst the networks, cable, internet. Back then it was 3 networks, and we would have 50 million people watching us, or 60. So you'd get associated with a role a lot more so back then, and it was tougher to get away from it. But roles like Star Trek and many other ones, I did a recurring role on Glee, and then bunches of independent films to get away from that character. So that was the Voyager. You also mentioned Family Guy, which was a lot of fun doing. They had a little fun with me, and they didn't know if I would be willing to come in and do my own voice, but I was, because when I saw what they said, we're going to do this with or without Don. We'd much rather have Don come in and do his own voice, but check it out. So I read the scene, and it was very funny. I said, oh yeah, I definitely want to do this. And they were making fun of me, but not really. I mean, it was people should go on YouTube and look up Family Guy, my name, if they haven't already seen it. But it was a very funny bit, and I was happy to be part of that. And so on the acting, there's been a lot of new things going on, and the singing that you mentioned, that I started. I actually was singing before I was acting when I was very young. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was singing in nightclubs up in the Catskill Mountains one summer. But then I switched my focus to acting and put the singing aside, knowing I would come back to it one day. I have the love of the Great American Songbook and the jazz standards. So I started doing it again about 6 years ago. Live shows and a CD that's been out a couple of years, and working on a new one right now.
What is it about singing that you like? Because I'll tell you, the reason I asked that, because I think of Long Tall Sally with Little Richard. I never liked the song before, but all of a sudden this year, the end of last year, I liked it, and I don't know why. And then this year, I liked Stevie Wonder, I Was Made to Love Her. So I don't know if it was all of a sudden certain songs hit you, or you listen to the lyrics or whatever. I don't know. But, it makes me think of that era, that genre, that Frank Sinatra era, and the history. Because I see more biopics on the rock side, on the music side, which I think are pretty good. And I think that's what happens. So it brings in that younger audience.
Yeah, I mean, those songs, some of the greatest songs written, were from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. There was the attention to the lyric. They would bring humor and wit, sophistication, intelligence, and romance, and in very clever ways, and just wonderful, wonderful songs, and of course the melodies that they wrote. So I always had a love for that, and especially for me when it was, a beautiful ballad, of course, but the up tempo, I love it in the jazz kind of styling, and I don't know. From the time I was very young, I was hooked on that music. Although, then when I was a teenager in the 60s, late 60s, and then going into the 70s, I also loved the music that was coming to the fore then, which is now called classic rock. And I love that music as well. But in terms of performing, in my blood is all the great standards and that style.
So when it comes to you today, what is it like for you to being that actor today? Because you've done decades of being you, whether it's singing or acting or live performance. I mean, where do you see everything now? Because I've been talking to a lot of the world's best publicists, the ones that are still there right now. How do you see the world of entertainment with what we've gone through with COVID-19?
Well, gosh, right now it's it's totally at a standstill. It's probably the last thing that could come back because of the nature of entertaining in front of a lot of people. They can't really open that up yet. And they're trying to, the people that I've been talking to, they're trying to figure out a model that would work, because they have to have a much lower capacity of people in a, say, a theater or some kind of a venue where normally you're seated very close to one another. And then if there's only a certain amount of people, then what is the pricing going to be like? And can people perform and even cover their own costs? These are all the questions. Now, so I don't know when that's going to really get back. Obviously when a vaccine is available, that will thankfully open up a lot and make things possible again. But for the foreseeable future, I don't have any of the bookings that I had were canceled. Not only my singing appearances, but like I had some live theater that I was supposed to be doing, and those were all canceled, and I haven't heard a peep about when they can be rescheduled. So it's really unfortunate, but like I said, those are the last kinds of venues and performance type events that will come back, and filming, right now filming, had been suspended, but then I've been getting notices from the Screen Actors Guild, and they've just come up with some new guidelines and a whole white paper, as they call it, of what the protocols would be and they might be able to get back shooting, but until there's that vaccine, it's going to be in ways where, you can't have a lot of extras in a scene. So, you could only do scenes with a few people, and you have to cheat around it and find ways to create a reality of an environment without having all the people that would normally be there. So I don't know, it sounds a little, I guess certain projects could come back because they won't require that. But the ones that will require it might have to still be on hold. So it's really, obviously it's affected everybody, and in our business, very much so. And in some cases, like I said, they might be the last things that can come back.
Well, I tell everybody it's about, for that actor singer, it's always about voice acting, animation. Those two things won't go away. The good thing is that you're a singer, never going to go away. Songwriting's never going to go away. Great time to do all of that. Plus, you've been on Family Guy. So once you entered that family, I can't remember his name.
Seth MacFarlane?
Seth, yes, because I love Seth. You're in great hands because that's never going to go away. So good for you at that point. So a lot of voice work coming to you. And there's only been one of you. There's not been another Don Most. So I can only imagine what your fan base is like, because the people grew up watching Happy Days and saw the things that you were on before. You got out of that, and good for you. I always thought that was very creative, but that's about acting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'd been playing that character. It was a wonderful experience on so many levels. But I'd been doing it after I did it for, say, 7 seasons. And I felt like, okay, I want to have a career as an actor that's going to have longevity and go and last, as long as I wanted to, hopefully a long time. And I knew that I felt it was time to move on. I'd been playing that one character for so long. And I was aware of the sort of the pitfalls that of getting so associated with one character. And I wanted to play many different kinds of roles and a wide variety. And I was never like the character. I was not very much like Ralph. So it was even doubly frustrating to get, if I was to get stuck in something where not only was it just one character, but it wasn't like, oh, well, that's who I am and that's all I can do. No, that wasn't even who I was. And I could do 100 different kinds of characters, and that's what I wanted to do. And so, and the good thing is, it was tough for a while, but I kept plugging away, and doing more guest roles and, like I said, independent films, a lot of theater. And in the last 5 years, it's really been opening up where I'm getting the opportunities to play some very interesting characters, all different types, drama, comedy. I have a movie that's on Amazon Prime right now, came out a few months ago, called Man's Best Friend, MBF. It's a very heavy, dramatic film, and I play a defense attorney. I'm defending a wounded vet in the film. Really strong material. And
that was a good role. I saw that. That was very, very good.
Oh yeah, you probably saw this. You see the whole film, or just the scene that I posted?
No. I always watch the whole film.
Oh, cool.
I
Yeah.
did movies for film festivals, and I never did a 10-minute thing like they do. And people who know me know that I always watch it from beginning to end, whether I like it or not, because there's always going to be somebody in there. It could be at the end that they stand out, and they could be a future star. So I always want to be that person to say, you know what, give the movie a chance. There's somebody in there that you need to see, and you just never know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Very smart. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to see it. And I did another film with the same company called Lost Heart, which will be out at the end of the summer, early fall. Another really beautiful script. And then I did a TV pilot recently, and I'm doing something on the web series called Viral Vignettes, where we're able to shoot from the safety and privacy of your home. It's 2 characters who are communicating like we are now, either by Skype or Zoom, but they're written scenes, and you're playing a specific character, and they're very funny. They're like 10 minutes each, each episode. and I did the very first one with Robert Wool, wonderful actor, and it's called, like I said, Viral Vignettes. It's on YouTube, and my episode did 2 episodes. One was Old Buddies, and the other was called Scrabble that I did with Gail O'Grady. So that's another fun thing that has come up, and just keeping busy. I was doing theater up until I was in Chicago doing a new play called Middletown, and then all the theater, when the virus hit, the theater started having to shut down, and we had to close early. So that was too bad. But the live theater is something I enjoy doing as well.
Where do you see everything going for here? And how do you like the new technology like Skype and Zoom?
Well, the technology is great. I mean, it's interesting that, we have it right now. Like I said, I never could have done this web series, Viral Vignettes. That was not possible before. So it's offering people, who get creative ways to invent something new, invent something out of the necessity that we from the situation that we find ourselves in. And if you can, utilize the technology in creative ways, who knows what people have been coming up with interesting kind of formats to present themselves. So I think it's great, and who knows where it'll go. It'll probably keep evolving, and there'll be things that we never thought were possible that will be happening.
Absolutely. Hey, how can people find you on the web? What's your social media links?
Okay, so on Facebook, it's Don Most, a personal and a music page under that name. And then on Twitter is @most_Don. And then on Instagram, DonMost1. And then I have a website, which I need to update because I haven't in a while, but it's DonnieMost.com. So still, that's where the Family Guy had some fun with me regarding my name, Don or Donnie, which I won't. They'll have to watch that Family Guy scene to understand.
Don, what would you say for those actors that are coming up? Because I'm talking to a lot of them, and a lot, because I find a lot of films that I have to find for different film festivals. Because as you know, film festivals are put on hold. And I was telling people 2 years ago, film festivals are dead, and if you don't start changing around, you're going to be lost. And here they are. So we started doing it in 2015 with the Hollywood Film Festival. We were the first to bring the Chinese over. I had a couple of films that David Arquette did by Ling, the Chinese actress. We had the premiere come over. So I started seeing all those changes. This is 2015. It's only 5 years ago, but look where we are. So I always tell people now, you have to be able to adapt, to adjust, and be flexible. Because if you could do those 3 things, you'll be okay. But a lot of people have a hard time changing.
But I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what changed with the film festivals prior to the COVID-19. What was, in your view, changing with film festivals?
Because you started seeing more stuff going to online. You started seeing more things. So really, really good films that just couldn't get distribution from anything. And then where did they go? They went in someone's closet or someone's basement. So I always get those films seen. There were a lot of great films. One was of the first Asian American who drew Bambi, who never got credit, who was still alive until 2 years ago. We found that film in 2015, Florida International Film Festival. Or the African American who drew something else, not Bambi, one of the other ones that they did that they didn't get credit until the end. So there was a lot of great films like that. I like to find and support. That's why I say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're right. There are a lot of great movies that won't get the distribution, and it's hard to. It's sort of hard to explain why, because you'd think, well, if a movie came out really good, it should get distribution, but it just doesn't. If you don't have the right sort of team behind you in terms of, I don't know, a marketing plan and money to spend on that, or it, the conventional wisdom is, oh, this movie won't be commercial. Yet the wonderful thing that there is now that you're mentioning is there's so many online platforms that they can find a way to be seen now, where a lot of them never would see the light of day. So that is That is a great thing. And you know, so people can make, you know, make a movie for very little money, but if they're smart, if they write a good script and get some good actors, you never know what you can come up with, and, you know, have a real sleeper on your hands and a real gem.
What were you singing when you were in lockdown? What were you writing personally? What was going through your mind? I'm sure you were being creative.
Yeah, well, what I was doing, I've been talking to various people about some of my own projects that I would like to get going, because I've directed 3 independent films over the years, and so I have about 3 or 4 projects that I would like to direct. There's another one or a couple other projects that maybe I would just be a producer, but they, you know, the ones that I've gotten, you know, put the beginning stages in, and the initiative of getting them going, and of getting the story, maybe a script. So so what I've been doing is talking to different people, sending out the material to select people, and hoping that to utilize this time to get enough interest that we can get the ball rolling, so that when productions can get moving again, I'll be poised to get one of these projects going, one or more, hopefully more. And some are TV, some are more in the film vein. So that's mainly what I've been doing. And then also for this new CD, I'm working with a great producer who's in the Nashville area, Tony Mantor. And I was in Nashville recording. We did the first 8 out of 12 songs, and they're coming out really, really well. I mean, I'm very excited about it. And I have 4 more to do, and we're trying to figure out when I'm going to come back, when we can get back in the studio and do these last 4 songs. So I'm sort of chomping at the bit to come back to Nashville to finish, but still not quite sure when that's going to be. But in the meantime, we were using the time to talk about material and share different songs back and forth. So, you know, doing what I can. And like I said, I acted in the web series Viral Vignettes, and I directed one of them as well that I was not, one that I was not in, I directed. So, you know, and looking over scripts and trying to improve the scripts from my own projects that I'm hoping to get off the ground. So using the time productively as much as I can.
Yeah, good for you. Lots of questions. What would you say to the actors that are coming in now? Because there's still people that want to go to California. There's still people that want to go to Tennessee. You couldn't have told me 3 years ago that I would have 3.6 million views a day and counting out of Tennessee. It's because I chose the right film. And I had not picked this film and fought to get it into the Hollywood Film Festival, my friend Edie Han, which is Elvis Presley's cousin, I would have never been involved with St. Jude's Hospital, which is my favorite charity. I would have never have gone, you know, the Graceland or the Grand Ole Opry, which she was always a part of, all of those things. So that film, which is always very important for you, finding those gems where people have never seen, getting it an outlet to get it out there, like John Scheinfeld's film on Sergio Mendes. I would have never have done all of this stuff. So for me, it's all connected. What would you say to those people coming up now? Because you are that actor, you are that director, will be that producer, and you're that singer. What would you say to them?
That are trying to, you mean trying to get their career going? What advice would I give them? Is that what you're saying?
Especially now, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's that people have asked me that. It's kind of interesting because I think business has changed quite a bit from, let's say, when I was first really pursuing it. You know, back then it was New York, but New York was mainly for theater. There was not a lot of TV being shot there, except for soap operas, none of the nighttime shows, and very little film. Once in a while, some filming would be done, but it was theater big time, obviously. And then LA was where all the TV and film were, and I decided I wanted to get out there. Even though I grew up in New York and I was working there, started my career there, but I decided to go to LA, where I thought, you know, most of the work would be for me. These days, you know, like you said, it's different. There's so much work in Atlanta right now, and I guess even in the Nashville area, there's more and more production being done. So it's different, and I don't know the lay of the land for somebody starting out as much. I mean, LA still good, obviously, but the competition is so high that in some cases you might be better off, going to one of these other cities where they're doing a lot of production because of the tax incentives that are being offered in those particular states. Louisiana had that for a while, pretty good incentives, but Georgia is big now. So, and New York is still a great place to be. So I don't know. I think the main thing is, if you really love it and this is all you can think of doing, then you just have the perseverance is the most important thing, and just continue, practicing, learning the craft and working at it as much as you can. And then sort of it'll, the pathways will open up if you're that focused and driven.
Give your website links one more time, Don.
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's Don Most, and on Twitter, it's Most, at Most _Don, and Instagram is Don Most 1, the number 1, and DonnieMost.com, my website.
I want to thank you for that, Don, and I appreciate that. And hey, like I said, it's an honor to actually meet you. And
Thank you.
Get out there and start performing. Let me know, especially since we're big in Nashville and in Franklin, Tennessee, and Georgia. Going to Tyler Perry's studio. Let me know, because I love to give referrals on things, on people, what they're doing, so they can look at you. Because I am looking at you as that director, because you have that experience now. That's how I do.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, thanks for having me, and good talking to you, Brian. And yeah, maybe when I get to Nashville, we could meet in person.
Oh yeah, you'll be surprised what we have going on with things.
Yeah, I know. I've gotten a little sense of it. It's a lot going on, that's for sure. That's great.